Absolute value inequality has two cases. The first case is, this case is true for the less than or equal to or just the less than, right? So this is when the sharper end, do you see this? This is when the sharper end is facing the absolute value and the variable. The other case is when the mouth, do you see that? This greater than, the mouth is facing the absolute value and the variable. So how do we deal with the first case? So the first case is, all you have to do is you put this into a compound inequality. So 7, right? Then I will just put the absolute, remove the absolute value. So put this between 7 and -7, and then we solve this compound inequality. So let's do that quickly. So we add 1 on each side, plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. -7 plus 1 is -6, less than or equal to 2x, less than or equal to 7 plus 1 is 8. And then we divide each side by 2. So you have an x in the middle. So -6 divided by 2 is -3. Less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 4. And then this is done. Of course, we want, usually they ask you to put this on a number line. So on the number line, I will just do that. So number line, -3, and then past the 4. So since there is an equal, then I will use a solid circle. And then for the interval is -3 square bracket, comma, past the 4 square bracket. Okay, what if this is just a less than? If this is just a less than, then this is a less than, this is a less than, this is an open circle, parenthesis, parenthesis, if that is just a less than. So the first case works for less than or equal to or just the less than. All right, and then the second case is a tiny little bit more complicated. So when the mouth, the greater than, is facing the absolute value or at the absolute value and the variable. So the first thing that you have to do immediately, this is easy. You just remove the absolute value, 3x minus 2 greater than 13. Let's just do it. So 3x, you add 2 on both sides, 13 plus 2. So you add 2 and then you add 2. 13 plus 2 is 15, and then you divide 3 on each side, divided by 3, divided by 3, and then you have x greater than 15 divided by 3 is 5. And then you box this. And then the second inequality, so this one you have to pay close attention to. There are two different ways to solve it according to the textbook you use, because different author has different preference. So the most common way is this. The most common way is you remove the absolute value. All right, you see, are you following? Watch very closely. You reverse the inequality sign, and then you put a negative on the other side, which is -13. So this is one of the ways to do it. There is a second way to do it. You will reach to the same answer. So the second way, let me use a different color. What color should I use? Let's use this light pink. So the second way to do it is, or you can go this way. You can do -3x minus 2 greater than 13. So do you see this? Compare what I gave you and this line. So I put a negative on the left hand side, and then I divide both sides by -1. So you have 3x minus 2 less than -13. Some textbook they introduce this. Some textbook they use one line. So the difference is you do two things in one line. Reverse the symbol and then add a negative. Or in the box, you put a negative, you remove the absolute value, put a negative, and then you divide both sides, and then you reverse the direction of the inequality sign. Okay, I usually do this. I usually do the orange line. I usually do both within the same line because the work will look much more cleaner. All right, so you add 2 on both sides, you have 3. I should follow the color, right? So you have 3x less than negative 13 plus 2, and then this is a negative 11, this is a 3x, and then you divide both sides by x, you have x less than negative 11 over 3. So what is the difference between case 1 and case 2? Case 1 is in between. You see that? I have a line in between two numbers. Case 2 is completely the opposite. So case 2, you have a negative 11 over 3, and then a 5. Do you remember this? On the number line, you have a 0 in the middle, negative number on the left side of 0, positive number on the right hand side of 0. So greater than 5, which is that, less than the fraction, which is this. So this is the opposite of in between. So if I change this inequality symbol to a less than, then this will be an in between. If you have a greater than, the greater than is facing the absolute value and the variable, then that will be the other side. If I put an equal, greater than or equal to, if there is an equal, then these two will be a solid circle, then you have an equal in each box, and then also this will be from negative infinity to negative 11 over 3 is a parenthesis. If I put a greater than or equal to, then this will be a solid circle and a square bracket. So 5 to positive infinity. All right. Okay, moving on to the next example. So next example, so what happened when you have this? What happened when you have absolute value x minus 1 divided by 3? This, let's just do a less than 2. What happened when you have this? So don't worry about what is inside the absolute value. Since this is a less than, the less than is facing, is pointing at the absolute value, and the variable, I will just do a 2 and a negative 2. So this will be an in between. Negative 2 x minus 1 over 3, and then less than 2. And then you multiply 3 on each side. So you multiply 3, and then you multiply 3 because we want to get rid of the denominator. Negative 6 less than x minus 1 less than 6. And then you add 1 on each side. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. And then 6 plus 1 is equals to 7. So this is a case of in between. You have a number line, you have a negative 5, you have a 7. So this is a between those two numbers, parenthesis negative 5, comma 7. There you go. If you use an equal, then this will be a solid circle, square bracket on both. Okay, so let's do one more example and then we will finish this video. How about 7, absolute value, x plus 3, close the absolute value, minus 2, greater than or equal to 5. So in this situation, I would like to clean up everything outside of the absolute value. First step is add 2 on both sides, and then you have a 7 absolute value. 5 plus 2 is 7, and then you divide 7 on both sides. And then you have x plus 3 greater than or equal to 1. Oh, what if this is a negative 7? What if this is a negative 7? And then you divide negative 7 on both sides. And then you have to reverse the direction of this inequality symbol. Once again, if this is a negative 7, right here, if this is a negative 7, you divide both sides by negative 7, and then you reverse the inequality symbol. But once you reverse the inequality symbol, then that is similar to the first case, which becomes an in-between problem. So that's why I didn't put a negative, because I want to give you another example of the second case. So this is a greater than or equal to, then you have to break this down into two inequality. The first one is just remove the absolute value. This is easy to solve. 1 minus 3 is negative 2, and then we box our solution set. And then the other one is you remove the absolute value, you reverse the symbol, and then you multiply the other side by negative 1. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. And then you subtract 3 on both sides. You have x less than or equal to negative 4. You see this? This is the opposite of in between. You have negative 4 and negative 2. So negative 4 is less than or equal to, negative 2 is greater than or equal to. See that? So you have negative infinity to negative 4 square bracket negative 2 to positive infinity. Never, never, never use square bracket on infinity because infinity is not an exact value. Alright, so that is the end of this video, and then in the next video, I want to give you a few more example of absolute value on inequality, but those example requires you to think deeper. All right, you have to do more thinking, do more work. Okay, so if you like this type of video, give it a thumbs up. If this is something that you would like to see, subscribe for more content in the future. As always, I will meet you all in the next video. Signing out.